My name is Madison Carter. I was 24, finishing college while working 30 hours a week at a medical billing office. I paid rent, bought my own food, and covered my tuition. So, I believed my family saw me as an adult. I was wrong. I missed one family dinner because of a work emergency. When I finally came home, my father pointed toward the hallway. Your princess sister needs your bedroom for her walk-in closet. Move your things into the garage. Before I could answer, my mother shoved loan documents against my chest. Sign these. You're borrowing $13,000 for the wedding. Family comes first. I looked at the amount, then at my 30-year-old unemployed sister, who was preparing for her third marriage. I laughed. She has no job, 2 divorces, and enough credit card debt to bury this family. This marriage won't last 5 months. I'm not paying. My sister jumped up. You're jealous because I'm getting married and you'll die alone. Daddy, make her pay. My father stepped close enough for me to smell whiskey on his breath. You have 5 minutes to get your things and disappear forever. You're dead to us. So, I smiled, picked up my backpack, and left. But before I closed the door, I left them a small surprise. By 8 o'clock the next morning, my sister was screaming so loudly that the neighbors called 911. My mother was crying and clutching her chest. My father was on his knees in the street, begging me to come back. Before I tell you what he said and what happened after I walked out, tell me, what time is it where you are, and where are you watching from? I want to know how far this story travels, to understand why my father thought he could order me into a garage. You need to understand how my family worked. My older sister, Olivia, was not simply the favorite child. She was the center of our financial and emotional system. Every mistake she made became an emergency the rest of us had to solve. When she dropped out of college after 1 semester, my parents blamed the instructors. When she quit her first job because her manager expected her to arrive on time, my mother called the workplace abusive. When her first marriage collapsed after 14 months, my father paid the legal bills. Her second marriage lasted less than 2 years. During that divorce, I postponed a semester and worked 2 jobs because my parents claimed they could not afford both my tuition and Olivia's attorney. I gave Dad the scholarship refund I had saved for books. He promised to repay me. He never did. That memory returned as I stood in the living room holding the $13,000 loan application. Olivia sat on the couch surrounded by garment bags, ring lights, wedding magazines, and boxes labeled bridal content. She had decided to become a wedding influencer despite having fewer than 4,000 followers. My room had the best natural light, so she wanted to turn it into a walk-in closet, dressing room, and filming studio. Dad stood beside her while Mom held out a pen. You have good credit, Mom said. The bank will approve you. I looked through the paperwork and saw my social security number, income, and employment information already entered. The money would be deposited into Dad's account. You filled this out without me, I asked. Dad shrugged. We prepared it. You ran my credit. Olivia rolled her eyes. Why are you making paperwork sound criminal? Dad stepped forward. Watch your accusations. The fact that he looked offended instead of ashamed told me everything. Mom lowered her voice. Your sister's first 2 weddings were disappointing. She deserves one beautiful day. Olivia's first wedding had cost nearly $30,000. The second had cost more. My parents had refinanced the apartment after that divorce, claiming rising expenses. What happened to the refinance money, I asked. Dad's shoulders stiffened. Olivia glanced at Mom. Their silence told me the wedding loan was covering more than a dress. Mom kept pushing the pen toward me. The venue deposit is due tomorrow. Olivia proudly announced that she had booked the Hawthorne, a waterfront hotel where receptions cost more than $50,000. Dad planned to use home equity. Mom would sell jewelry. I would take the loan. Ethan, Olivia's fiancé, supposedly would cover the honeymoon. Does Ethan know you're forcing me to borrow money? I asked. Olivia's smile disappeared. He knows my family supports me. That was not an answer. Dad tapped the papers. Sign. No. Everyone went silent. Mom warned me to think carefully. Olivia accused me of sabotaging her because I was lonely. I reminded them that I paid $800 in rent every month. Dad said everything I had came from the family. My scholarships came from my grades. My job came from my work. My credit exists because I pay my bills. The only thing this family consistently gives me is an invoice. Olivia called it a victim speech. I looked at her designer shoes, expensive engagement ring, and piles of wedding boxes. Then remembered the cracked laptop I had used for 4 years because I refused to ask my parents for help. I'm not the victim anymore, I said. That's what scares you. Dad slammed his palm against the table and said I would not disrespect Olivia under his roof. My rent covered your property taxes last year, I replied. Mom looked away, confirming my guess. I asked how bad their finances were. Dad said it was none of my business. You want me to accept $13,000 of debt, but your finances are none of my business. Olivia moved closer. You're jealous. I'm getting married and building a brand while you hide behind school because nobody wants you. I answered quietly. She's 30 unemployed, and on her 3rd wedding. I'm 24 working, studying, and paying rent. Yet I'm the one you want sleeping beside the lawnmower. Mom insisted the garage was safe. Dad offered a space heater. Olivia said I was hardly home anyway. That sentence hurt more than the insults. She did not see my room as my home. She saw it as empty space waiting for someone more important. Then Mom revealed that movers were arriving at 7 o'clock the next morning. They had already planned my removal. The conversation had never been a request. It was an eviction disguised as a family favor. Something inside me became very still. All right, I said. Olivia smiled, believing she had won. But I was no longer thinking about the room. I was thinking about the metal filing box under my parents' bed, the one filled with tax records, mortgage notices, and a folder bearing my name. I had spent years trying to earn a place in that home. Now I needed to learn what they had done with my identity while I was there. The argument exploded when I asked for 24 hours to review the loan. Dad said there was nothing to review. Mom said hesitation was selfish. Olivia accused me of ruining her happiness because I had never been engaged. Dad shoved the papers toward me. Sign. No. Family comes first. Then why have I always come last? Mom whispered my name as though I had humiliated her. Olivia stepped closer. Your problem is that you think school and work make you special. You're boring. You have no fiancé, no future anyone cares about. This wedding is the only meaningful thing happening in this family. Her words dragged me back to her second divorce. I had driven 40 miles through freezing rain to collect her after her husband changed the locks. She slept in my room for 4 months because Mom said she needed support. Olivia took the bed while I slept on an air mattress beside my desk. I delayed a semester, paid for food, and listened to her insult the car that brought her home. When the divorce settlement arrived, she bought a luxury handbag. She never repaid me. That memory cut through my hesitation. You're right, I said. Your wedding is meaningful because it proves none of you learned anything from the first 2. Olivia's face went white. I continued. You married the first man because you wanted a house. You married the second because you wanted someone to fund your lifestyle. Now you're marrying Ethan because his company is successful. Does he know your debt? Does he know you haven't kept a job longer than 6 months? Olivia slapped me. The sound cracked through the room. My cheek burned. Mom covered her mouth. Dad looked at Olivia, then at me. I waited for him to defend me. He said, "You provoked her." That was the moment I stopped hoping. I touched my cheek and said, "Thank you." Dad frowned. For what? For making it impossible to lie to myself anymore. I slipped my phone into my coat pocket and activated the recorder. It had already captured Dad admitting they entered my information on the loan application. Now, it would capture whatever came next. I went to my room and packed only what mattered: my laptop, identification, medication, work clothes, textbooks, chargers, birth certificate, and social security card. Then I entered my parents' bedroom. The metal filing box was under the bed. Dad followed me. "What are you doing?" "Taking my records." The box was unlocked. Inside were tax returns, credit reports, bank notices, and folders for each family member. I took the folder labeled Madison and several unopened letters addressed to me. Dad grabbed my wrist. "Put those back. They have my name on them." His grip tightened. I raised my phone. "I'm recording." He released me immediately. Mom appeared in the doorway. Olivia shouted from the living room, asking why I was still there. Dad's face turned red. "You want to act like a stranger? Fine. You can live like one. You have 5 minutes to get your things and disappear forever. You're dead to us." Mom cried, but did not ask him to take it back. Olivia smiled. "Daddy, make sure she leaves the key." I placed the key on the dresser and smiled. My hands were shaking. But beneath the fear was a clean realization. They had finally given me permission to stop protecting them. At the door, Olivia pushed the loan papers toward me again. "Sign, and maybe Dad will let you come back after the wedding." I laughed. "You'll be divorced before the first payment is due." She screamed and lunged at me, but Mom grabbed her. Dad pointed toward the hallway. "Get out." I stepped outside and opened the family group chat. I uploaded photographs of the unsigned application showing that my personal information had already been entered. Then I wrote, "Since I am dead to this family, no one has permission to use my name, credit, income, signature, or identity. Any attempt will be reported immediately." I sent it to my parents, Olivia, several relatives, and Ethan. Outside, I called my closest friend, Alex. "Can I stay with you tonight?" My voice cracked for the first time. "Of course," he said. While I waited, I looked up at the apartment. Olivia's silhouette moved behind my bedroom curtains. She was already measuring the walls. I wondered how many more years I would have wasted trying to convince them I was a daughter instead of an ATM. Alex did not greet me with questions. He took my suitcase, gave me water, and waited until I could speak. I told him about the garage, the loan, the slap, and Dad's 5-minute eviction. Then I played the recording. When Dad's voice said I was dead to the family. Alex looked at the folder. That application may already have been submitted. We opened it. The first document was a copy of my credit report. I had never requested it. Dad had circled my score: income, available credit, and estimated borrowing capacity. Beneath it was a tax return showing my parents had claimed me as a dependent, even though I paid most of my own expenses and filed independently. The next document was a home equity statement showing a balance of $87,000. Withdrawals were marked with initials: Olivia's wedding, Olivia's legal fees, Olivia's cards, and one labeled Madison's tuition. The amount beside my initials was $18,000. I had never received it. The transfer went into an account ending in 4419, the same account that received several payments for Olivia. I remembered being 18 and letting Dad control my scholarship stipend because he said I was too young to manage it. 2 months later. He claimed the scholarship office had reduced the award. I believed him. Now it looked as though my tuition money had funded Olivia. Alex helped me check my current credit report. 2 hard inquiries had appeared that week. One came from the bank listed on the wedding loan. The other came from a credit union I had never contacted. Then we found a personal credit line opened 11 months earlier with a balance of $9,600. The mailing address was my parents' apartment. The contact number belonged to Dad. I called the lender's fraud department after verifying my identity. They confirmed the account had been opened online and the funds deposited into another account. They agreed to preserve the records after I filed an identity theft report. We froze my credit, changed every password and security question, and filed the appropriate reports. Every action created a timestamp. Every timestamp placed another wall between my family and my future. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I found the document explaining their desperation. The Hawthorne venue required a $30,000 payment by 9 o'clock the next morning. Olivia had signed the contract, and Dad had signed as guarantor. Failure to pay would trigger cancellation fees. They did not need my loan eventually. They needed it within hours. I contacted the bank handling the $13,000 application. A supervisor confirmed that an online application using my information had been started but not fully authorized. I told her to deny it and flag the file for identity misuse. The denial notice would go to Dad's number. Then I texted Ethan privately. I sent him the unsigned loan documents and wrote that I had been ordered to borrow money for the wedding after being thrown out so Olivia could use my room as a bridal studio. I told him to verify every financial claim before combining accounts. He asked whether Olivia had debt from her second marriage. I sent him only records I could prove. At 7:10, my phone began vibrating. Dad called. Mom called. Olivia sent 3 messages, including one calling me a jealous psychopath. Ethan wrote, "She told me your parents were wealthy and paying cash." At 7:50, Mom left a voicemail saying the venue payment had failed and Ethan was asking questions. At 8:12, Ethan froze the shared wedding account and contacted the venue. At 8:17, Olivia discovered what he had done. A neighbor later sent me a video. Olivia was screaming in the hallway, throwing wedding decorations, and accusing everyone of ruining her life. Someone called 911 after glass shattered. Mom followed Olivia into the street, crying and clutching her chest. Dad chased Ethan's truck barefoot. When Ethan drove away, Dad dropped to his knees in the road. At 8:31, my phone rang again, this time. I answered. Dad did not sound powerful. He sounded old. "Madison, you need to fix this." I sat at Alex's kitchen table beside the folder they never wanted me to see. What exactly should I fix? The bank froze the loan. I reported an application made with my information. "You should have called me first. You told me I was dead to you." He accused me of being dramatic. I reminded him that Olivia was screaming in the street and Mom was in an ambulance. He lowered his voice. Ethan canceled the wedding account. That was his choice. You poisoned him against your sister. I sent him documents. You had no right. You had no right to use my identity. After a long silence, Dad said they intended to repay the money. I asked about the $9,600 credit line. He stopped breathing for a moment. I told him I had found the account, credit inquiries, home equity statements, and the $18,000 labeled as my tuition. He insisted family finances were complicated. "Identity theft isn't," I replied. He begged me not to use that phrase because accusations could destroy them. "I'm not destroying you," I said. "I'm documenting what could destroy me." Olivia grabbed the phone. "You ruined my wedding." "I refused to finance it." "Ethan returned the ring because of you." "He returned it because you hid your debt." She screamed that I had always hated her. "I don't hate you," I said. "I stopped rescuing you." when Dad returned to the call. He told me to come home and resolve everything privately. I asked whether I was still dead and whether I would still be sleeping in the garage. He said the room could be reconsidered. Even then, he believed my bedroom was something he could offer in exchange for silence. I'm not coming back. Dad said Mom was being taken to the hospital and Olivia was unstable. Then go with Mom and call a professional for Olivia. He said I caused everything. No, consequences caused this. Then he began to cry. For years. His distress would have made me surrender. I was the daughter who filled out forms, drove people places, paid bills, and apologized first. I pressed my feet against the floor and let that reflex pass. Dad asked me to call Ethan, tell the bank I made a mistake, and withdraw the report. I refused each time. His grief vanished. You owe us, he said. For what? For raising you. Feeding you. Giving you a home. Those were your responsibilities as a parent. He threatened to remove me from the inheritance. I looked at the debt statements. There won't be an inheritance. You already gave it to Olivia. He hung up. By noon, the venue suspended the wedding contract. Ethan's lawyer demanded the return of business funds Olivia had allegedly used without permission. His Snorts company's bookkeeper had found transfers from their wedding account into Olivia's personal account. Olivia claimed the money paid vendors. Some of it had paid her credit cards. The engagement ended that afternoon. Olivia posted a crying video online accusing her jealous sister of destroying her happiness. For 20 minutes. Followers comforted her. Then a cousin shared the complete screenshot from our family chat, including the loan amount and my warning that no one had permission to use my identity. Other relatives revealed that my parents had financed 3 weddings while borrowing from family. Ethan stayed silent publicly, but demanded financial records through his attorney. Olivia deleted the video, but people had already saved it. A bridal boutique withdrew its discount. A makeup artist canceled a collaboration. The wedding page Olivia had spent months building filled with questions about missing money. She had wanted to become famous for her wedding. She did, just not in the way she planned. That evening, Mom called from the hospital and said it had been a panic attack. She asked me to understand how fragile Olivia was. Why was her pain always an emergency while mine was an inconvenience? I asked. Mom said she had never seen it that way. You didn't have to. I adapted. I paid. I solved problems. That made neglecting me easy. She apologized for the argument, but not for the credit account, the bedroom, the loan, or the slap. Every excuse returned to Olivia being emotional. I hope you recover, I said. But I'm not coming back. Mom warned me not to cut off my whole family. I didn't. Dad declared me dead and threw me out. He didn't mean it. He meant it until he needed me. I ended the call and began looking for apartments. 3 days later. My parents asked me to return for a calm conversation. I agreed only if Alex came. Everything was recorded and nobody touched my belongings. When we arrived, my bedroom had become Olivia's bridal studio. Clothing racks filled the room. My books had been packed into bags, and a neon sign reading Future Mrs. Hart hung above my bed. Even though Ethan had already ended the engagement, the movers had completed the transformation after the wedding collapsed. That proved removing me had never been temporary. Dad pushed an agreement across the kitchen table. They offered to restore my room, waive 3 months of rent, and repay $5,000 over 2 years. In return, I had to withdraw the identity theft report, call the loan application a misunderstanding, and promise not to share their financial records. This isn't an apology, I said. It's a settlement designed to protect you. Dad called $5,000 generous. I reminded him the fraudulent credit line alone was almost $10,000. He said the money benefited the household. I showed him that the funds went to Olivia. Olivia removed her sunglasses. I used it for necessary expenses. I asked her to name them. She refused. I showed statements proving she had transferred money from Ethan's wedding account to personal credit cards and a luxury resale site. Mom closed her eyes. Olivia insisted she needed available credit for vendors. Then why did you buy a handbag 2 days later? I asked. Dad stood and announced that we were not putting Olivia on trial. No, I replied. You only put me on trial. I laid out their debts. $87,000 on the home equity line, $43,000 on credit cards, $31,000 in personal loans, unpaid taxes, and the remaining mortgage. They had spent more than $170,000 supporting Olivia's weddings, divorces, shopping, travel, legal fees, and influencer fantasy. Some expenses had been disguised with my initials. You didn't just favor her, I said. You destroyed your finances to protect her from reality. Then I showed them the business loan. Ethan had advanced Dad $25,000 for a renovation project. Most of it had been transferred to Olivia's account within 48 hours. Ethan believed the loan had been obtained under false pretenses. Mom stared at Dad. He turned toward Olivia. You said it was a wedding gift. Olivia snapped. You signed it. Dad said she promised Ethan would forgive it after the wedding. Olivia shouted that Dad wanted the wedding to look expensive, so Ethan's family would believe they were wealthy. The alliance between them finally cracked. Dad had helped deceive Ethan to appear successful. Olivia had used the deception to finance her wedding. Mom had looked away to preserve the family image. Dad tore one of the statements in half. Alex calmly said it was a copy. I told them everything was backed up, including the recordings, applications, lender records, and tax documents. Mom asked what I wanted. The fraudulent account must be repaid. You must cooperate with the lenders and tax authorities. My belongings must be returned. Olivia must stop using my name, photograph, or story online. No one asks me to lie to Ethan, the bank, or the police. Dad asked what would happen if they refused. I continue protecting myself. Olivia stepped toward me. You think you won because Ethan left? You're still alone. I answered. I would rather be alone than surrounded by people who love me only when I'm useful. She threw a glass against the wall and screamed. You were supposed to sign. You were supposed to pay and keep your mouth shut like you always do. The room became silent. Alex lifted the recording phone. Olivia's own words had said everything. I gathered what remained of my belongings, including the framed college acceptance letter buried under wedding magazines. The glass was cracked. Dad asked me not to tear apart the family. I stopped holding together something that was crushing me. He insisted they could fix it. You can face it, that isn't the same thing. As the elevator doors closed, Olivia began blaming Dad. Dad accused her of lying about Ethan, and Mom begged them to stop. For once, I did not stay to solve their crisis. Consequences did not arrive in one dramatic courtroom scene. They came piece by piece. The lender closed the fraudulent credit line and removed it from my credit history after reviewing the application records. Contact number, deposit account, an identity theft report. Dad entered a repayment arrangement rather than challenge the evidence. My parents amended their tax returns and paid penalties. Ethan sued to recover the business loan and money removed from the wedding account. The settlement required the sale of assets and placed a lien against my parents' property. The Hawthorne wedding was canceled permanently. The venue kept part of the deposit and added cancellation charges. Olivia tried to blame Ethan online until his attorney warned her to stop making false statements. Her wedding content page disappeared. Vendors stopped responding. The boutique demanded the discounted dress back. The photographer refused a refund. Olivia lost the fiancé. Venue. Ring. Sponsors. Followers. An illusion of wealth one piece at a time. 6 months after my eviction, my parents sold the apartment because they could no longer manage the mortgage. Home equity debt, legal expenses, loans, and taxes. They moved into a small rental outside Boston. There was no garage. Olivia had to find her own place for the first time. My parents refused to pay her deposit because they truly had nothing left. She moved in with a friend, was asked to leave after 6 weeks, and eventually took a receptionist job at a dental office. She complained that she was working beneath her potential, but reality required her to support herself. Dad sent long messages. Most were apologies followed by the word, but. He was sorry things became extreme, but I should not have involved outsiders. He was sorry I felt hurt. But family finances were complicated. I did not answer. Mom's messages were softer. One evening, she wrote that they had depended on me because I was dependable and protected Olivia because she struggled. She finally understood that rewarding Olivia's helplessness had punished my responsibility. I replied, "Seeing it is the beginning, not the repair." Alex helped me find a small studio apartment near campus. The building was old, the heat unreliable, and the kitchen barely large enough for one person. On my first night, I ate noodles while sitting on a moving box because I had no table. I had never felt richer. Every bill was mine because I chose it. Every object belonged to me. No one could order me into another room or trade my future for someone else's happiness. I completed my degree the following spring. My parents did not attend graduation. Their absence hurt. But Alex, my co-workers, and my advisors stood and cheered when my name was called. 3 weeks later, I accepted a full-time position with a healthcare technology company. I used my first bonus to replace the laptop I had carried out of my parents' apartment. I used the next to build an emergency fund. I did not use either to rescue anyone. Almost a year after Dad threw me out, he appeared outside my building holding the cracked frame containing my college acceptance letter. I did not invite him upstairs. We sat on a bench. He looked thinner and older. "I was wrong," he said. There was no but. He admitted that every time Olivia failed, he rescued her, and every time I succeeded, he assumed I needed nothing. It was easier to take from the strong child than confront the weak one. I corrected him. She wasn't weak. She was protected from consequences. He nodded. He also admitted that opening an account in my name was illegal and that he had convinced himself he could repay it before I discovered the truth. Dad asked whether losing the house, Olivia's respect, and Mom's trust was enough punishment. I told him I had not reported the account to punish him. I reported it because I would not spend years paying for money I never borrowed. He asked whether I hated him. I said no. Then he asked whether I could forgive him. "I'm not carrying hatred," I said. But forgiveness does not mean restoring access. He said he wanted to rebuild our relationship. I told him to rebuild himself first. Stop blaming me. Stop sending Mom to speak for him. Stop rescuing Olivia. Pay what he owed. And learn to apologize without expecting forgiveness as a reward. He asked whether he would ever see my apartment. "Not today," I said, for once. He accepted the boundary. Months later, I met Mom for coffee. She began therapy. Dad attended financial counseling. Olivia refused both. I did not create an anonymous channel exposing my family or turn their collapse into a business. I had spent too much of my life organized around Olivia's chaos. My revenge was not destroying them. It was becoming unreachable to their manipulation. It was graduating after Dad said I could not survive without him. It was protecting my credit, choosing my own home, and understanding that guilt was not the same as responsibility. Olivia still blamed me. She told people I stole her wedding and ruined her life. She never mentioned the loan application, hidden debt, stolen business funds, or credit account opened in my name. Some people do not change when consequences arrive. They simply rewrite the story so they remain the victim. The last time she contacted me, she sent a photograph of my old bedroom after my parents emptied the apartment. The room was bare except for the broken neon sign reading, "Future Mrs. Hart." Her message said, "I hope you're happy. You got everything you wanted." I looked around my apartment. My degree hung beside my desk. My work laptop sat on the table. A spare key rested in a drawer given only to someone I trusted. I replied, "I never wanted your wedding, your room, or your life. I wanted ownership of mine." Then I blocked her. My father believed taking away my bedroom would make me obedient. Instead, he removed the final reason to remain under his control. I do not miss that room. A room can be taken, reassigned, or turned into someone else's closet. What I built afterward could not be stolen so easily. I built credit in my own name, friendships that did not depend on sacrifice, a career based on my effort, and boundaries strong enough to survive tears, anger, and accusations. Most importantly, I built a home where love was not measured by how much debt I was willing to accept. My family thought they were throwing me out. They were opening the door. I did not need my old bedroom back. I had built an entire life of my own. So, tell me, if your family used your identity, treated you like an ATM, and threw you away the moment you said no, would you forgive them or close the door for good? We truly appreciate every viewer who spent time with the story. All events and characters are fictional and created only for storytelling and educational purposes. We hope it reminds you that people who depend on your silence may react strongly when you finally speak. But their reaction does not make your truth less valid. You are allowed to name what hurts you and refuse to keep protecting those who never protected your feelings.